In the previous chapter, we looked at how the channel partners help move the goods from your location to your customers. In this chapter, we will focus on the partners who can help you receive your raw materials from your suppliers. Both moving the inputs from suppliers to your facility and moving your product to your customers involve movement of goods and a change of location. Hence, all these discussions fall under P for place in the marketing mix. In this chapter, we address questions such as who will supply your inputs, why tracking and tracing are important in moving goods, should you source your products from U.S. suppliers or Chinese suppliers, how to move the raw materials in a cost-efficient manner, and the environmental implications of your air, ship, trucks, and pipeline transport. The raw materials suppliers are collectively known as the supply chain or upstream channel. Supply chain management is an important topic within businesses. It may be easier for you to reinterpret the supply chain management as managing a chain of raw material supplies. The two videos found in the module explain the concept of raw material supply chains in an intuitive manner. Please make sure to watch them. Sourcing is the process of evaluating and hiring individual businesses to supply you with goods and services. Let's say you want to produce and market athletic shoes. To manufacture shoes, you have to buy leather, rubber materials for the sole, coloring agents, and hire labor. You can purchase these things locally, or you can purchase it from suppliers in other countries such as India, China, or some Asian country. To identify who can supply you with these materials, you can use a website such as Alibaba.com. This process of identifying your suppliers is called sourcing. Let's say you have been manufacturing your own rubber soles. Over time, it has become too difficult for you to make your own rubber soles. If you ask another company to manufacture it for you, then this is called outsourcing. If you ask a company in a foreign location such as Mexico or China or some other foreign location, it is called offshoring. Procurement is the process of actually purchasing those goods and services. To procure raw materials such as leather and laces, you have to acquire a team of professionals who are called procurement managers or purchasing managers. You are good at making shoes. You do not have time to worry about the transport of raw materials or leather inputs. In these cases, you can hire a third-party company to move the goods from the supplier's locations to your location. These companies are known as freight forwarders. The videos referenced on this slide can be found in the module. We need to estimate how many shoes we can actually sell in a month or a year. This is called demand planning. Forecasting the expected demands helps order the right amount of inputs such as leather and rubber soles. Forecasting also helps with deciding which months to operate the machinery and when to idle them. Along with the demand quantity, you need to estimate how many days or weeks it would take to manufacture the required number of shoes. You need to order your inputs well ahead. This is called lead time. As a marketer, you have to arrange for collaborative planning, forecasting, and the replenishment of inputs. Inventory refers to the number of shoe pairs in stock. It is important to control the inventory because you have invested the money in manufacturing them, but you have not sold them yet to generate dollar revenues. Managing inventory has tremendous implications for your profits, cash flows, and overall business success. The efforts of marketers in getting the goods sold become extremely crucial in case of inventory control. It can happen that your shoes are in great demand, but you ran out of shoes to sell because your suppliers failed to send the required amount of leather in time. Having no shoes to sell is called a stockout. To avoid a stockout, it is often common that manufacturers order more to keep some in stock. This is called buffer or safety stock. Let's say you were expecting to make 1,000 shoes, but due to some problems, you were able to make only 950 shoes. This is called shrinkage. Product shrinkage can arise from shoplifting, employee theft, paperwork errors, or supplier fraud. Hence, it is important to manage inventory to have a steady supply of the finished product shoes and the required inputs. Let's say you received leather in the months of January, February, March, and April, and you're going to start production of shoes in May. If you decide to use the leather that arrived in last during the month of April 1st, then your inventory management is known as LIFO, last in, first out. If you decide to use the leather that arrived in the month of January, then your inventory management is called FIFO, first in, first out. Another important inventory control is known as just-in-time inventory control method. According to this method, you arrange your supply chain such that leather is delivered to you just a few days or hours before the shoe manufacturing. The just-in-time method became famous in the 1970s and 80s in Japan in the automobile manufacturing industry. Let's talk about an important topic in supply chains. It is the increasing importance to track where and how your supplies produce their product. There was a mad cow disease outbreak between 2003 and 2005 in Canada. The meat from a single infected cow got mixed with tons of beef and found its way into the United States. About 65 countries imposed partial or total bans on importing beef from the U.S. How was the USDA able to detect that the infected cow originated from Canada and spread from the U.S.? It was possible because each batch of beef was tracked using tracking numbers. Similar problems have affected many other food and agricultural products. The recalls are not limited only to agricultural products. In the mid-2010s, Toyota recalled many of their car models because one of the suppliers, Takata, supplied Toyota with faulty airbags. This problem affected many other car manufacturers. Hence, the supply chain problems can have a much larger impact. To track each product, the suppliers would tag them with individual batch numbers. There can be multiple batch numbers for each product that has its own unique stock keeping unit, SKU, pronounced SKU. These numbers are either printed on them or electronically coded through Universal Product Code or UPC code. The QR code is a two-dimensional square barcode that contains encoded data. Often, the manufacturers give a link to their websites where more information about how the product is manufactured. Often, the manufacturers give a link to their websites where there is more information about how the product is manufactured. To scan the code in your smartphone, you need a QR code scanner app that is commonly available for free. Reading the electronic tags manually can take a long time. To speed up the process, big manufacturers use electronic readers known as RFID, radio frequency identification scanners, that can read one or many packages at one time. This information can be electronically transmitted and used for advanced analysis and demand planning. These technologies have become cheaper and more accessible even for small businesses. The widespread globalization in the 21st century has resulted in products from multiple countries mixed together and sold to the customers. For instance, nuts grown in Thailand, Philippines, and USA are likely to be processed and found in a single batch and sold in the USA. The customers would like to know these pieces of information while deciding whether to buy a product from multinational sellers or to support a product that was grown and processed in the USA. The USDA requires companies to clearly label where the product was produced, where it was processed and packaged. This is known as Country of Origin Labeling, or COOL. Once the product finishes its useful life, it needs to be recycled. The ability to track it back to proper recyclers is known as reverse logistics. Warehousing and transportation are important topics within supply chain management. Logistics refers to the physical flow of materials in the supply chain. You can move the materials yourself or hire a third-party logistics provider. Since the mid-2010s, companies such as Amazon are trying the opportunity to deliver products using drones or unmanned aerial vehicles, known as UAVs. There is considerable amount of automation in logistics which can help reduce the costs and pass the savings on to the customers. The transport costs can vary significantly depending on the mode of transport. Air transport is the costliest, followed by truck or road transport. Rail transport is relatively cheaper. Global marketing opportunities have become possible due to very cheap costs with ship or water transport. Pipeline is cheaper but suitable only for a certain type of liquid or gas product such as crude oil or natural gas. Air transport may be costly, but it provides the quickest form of transport. Air transport is often used to transport flowers, perishable products, and products of high value. Water is the slowest form of transportation and is commonly suitable for heavy and large loads to be transported over large distances. Multimodal transport refers to using more than one mode of transport. It involves loading and unloading costs, which can expand the reach considerably. One critical issue in transporting is the cost of transporting the goods over the last mile. It is often very cheap to move the product from China to Miami and from Miami to Cleveland, but the very last segment of transporting from the Cleveland post office to the customer's street address can often be the most expensive part of global transport. As a marketer, you need to account for these cost variations while setting up the retail prices and offering services such as free shipping. The ongoing development with the air delivery using drones can reduce the costs of last mile delivery. But it has its own legal and liability issues, such as what would happen if the drone drops its cargo on a human being or property and causes significant damage. The choice of transportation affects not only the costs and speed, but also results in air pollution affecting the environment. The greenhouse gases from using carbon fuels in production and transport are often implicated to contribute to global warming. As a marketer, you need to evaluate how this could affect your brand image. In this video, we looked at how a company has multiple options in sourcing its raw materials. We talked about demand forecasting and managing inventory to avoid stockouts or stock build-ups. The video also described the importance of tracking in case the suppliers have to be identified for product recalls. We discussed the UPC, QR codes, and radio frequency identification. The video finished with a discussion of the various modes of transportation such as ship, rail, truck, air, and pipeline. Your choice of transportation depends on your product. Remember that each transport mode has implications for cost, speed, and environmental impacts. Electric vehicles are said to reduce fossil fuel use. How can you make use of electric vehicle transport to show that you care about the planet?